UK wants 5G alliance of 10 countries, including India, to avoid reliance on Chinese Huawei.
Here's a summary of the article.
New Delhi, the United Kingdom is pursuing an alliance of 10 democracies in order to create an alternative pool of 5G equipment and technologies to avoid reliance on China and especially its telecom giant Huawei, reported. The UK was one of those who stood out in the face of a US-led drive to ban Huawei from entering the 5G sector. Also read, Huawei woos India as the number 2 wireless market remains on the fence on 5G. UK's alliance meant to marginalise China. The plan to form a democratic alliance in order to marginalize the Chinese tech giant Huawei comes at a time when there is rising global backlash against China for its initial handling of the coronavirus outbreak. There is also growing consensus among the British political class regarding resetting relations with Beijing, following the global pandemic and the havoc it has caused in the UK. Moreover, there has been a concerted effort by the US and several other countries to keep Huawei away from their country's 5G networks. Following this announcement, the British government decided to launch an emergency review into how these sanctions would affect Huawei's ability to supply 5G technology to the UK. The review being conducted by the UK's National Cyber Security Centre is expected to conclude that the US's sanctions would make it impossible for the UK to use Huawei's 5G technology. Whitehall sources said the threatened US restrictions meant that any review would almost certainly say that Huawei posed a security risk. A particular concern was that Huawei would become reliant on unfamiliar and untested components, which could be exploited, noted a report.
This post received a score of 15,000, with an upvote ratio of 96%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
The 10 countries are, India, Australia, South Korea, France, Canada, Germany, Japan, Italy, US, UK.
So basically the UK's core allies and India makes sense to me. I'm all for joining them.
South Korea isn't really a core UK ally. The rest certainly are. If it was truly about core allies, it would include New Zealand as well. It's mainly about GDP and democracy.
Yes, but I believe Samsung is one of the only major alternatives to Huawei for 5G, which could be a big reason for this.
The other alternatives that come to mind are Swedish Ericsson, Finnish Nokia and US Qualcomm. As recently as last month British BT decided to swap over to using Ericsson. All of them have made significant contributions in the area already and have been in talks with US officials already who are now urging EU to use their technology instead of Huawei.
Qualcomm makes modems for end devices but not base station radios. Samsung makes both. Cisco offers base stations but just the computer part, one believe. They're literally PCs with custom software.
Pretty sure that Samsung uses Qualcomm hardware in many of their radios and switches. Qualcomm produces components for the manufacturers.
AFAIK, Samsung only use Qualcomm in their general public goods, i.e. laptops, phones, TV, etc. In South Korea, I believe they make the actual base stations and routers, which are used by LG+, KT, etc.
The old Cold War lines are being redrawn.
India was a neutral, like the real reason the term Third World Nation exists, during that time period. But yes, this is about preparing for the possibility of a renewed Cold War, but this time with China.
I wonder if this time the main front for proxy wars is going to be Africa instead of the Middle East. China is heavily invested in a bunch of African countries.
It has to be. Africa is incredibly resource-rich, and very few nations seem interested in modernizing them other than China, which they might see themselves as either a boon or at least that someone is willing to take a gamble on them, believes in their continent. Imagine the value of allying or debt indenturing over 1 billion people and such a large land mass.
Greater than over 1 billion people and such a large land mass. As if they didn't have enough of that already.
I'm saying additionally. 1 billion people. You don't have to move closer to the enemies of your state to fight in wars, physically occupy strategic space.
I know, it was a sarcastic remark.
A little slow on the uptake, but some common sense has prevailed.
Seriously, 'bout fucking time.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.